In 2015, Joey Logano was having a season to remember. Up to this point, he had 6 wins on the season, winning the Daytona 500, Watkins Glen, the Bristol Night Race, and he had swept the round of 12 at Charlotte, Kansas, and Talladega. Joey Logano was hot up to this point. He started on pole for this Martinsville race. He was looking pretty good. He was leading the point standings, having a really good year. Lots of wins, lots of top 5s, top 10s. Great year for the 22 team, so nothing really to complain about. Martinsville is a track he had not yet won at. So, obviously, they wanted to get it done. Say, hey, let's win. That'll be a championship statement. And a win at Martinsville meant a spot at the championship 4 at Homestead Miami Speedway, where Joey Logano would have a chance to compete for his first championship. Now, what would happen later in this race would be a big factor on what happened the rest of the playoffs. So, now that we've gone over the point standings before this, and well, really, what had happened before this, as in Joey Logano dominating the round before being on a 3-race win streak, here we go. Joey Logano. Now, this race started weirder than others because of the rain. It caused a lot of moisture, so they threw the green, but it was under yellow at the same time. So, listen to the explanation.
Martinsville very unique are the curves. You know, we see curving at road courses, but not at ovals. Well, here in Martinsville, that pink strip you see right there, where the depth of it might be hard to understand from this view, that's a 5-6 inch deep pink curve, but it's also painted. And what we've seen here in the past, Jeff, is when it rains, some moisture can gather, and that's an area the cars run right along that curb, and if there's any moisture on the paint, it can become very slick.
Yeah, that's right. And the drivers are going to be on that paint. It's almost impossible to stay off the curb early in the race. You're going to stop it when they drop the green flag. You know, cars are side by side. The guys on the outside lane are pushing the guys on the inside lane next to the curb. So NASCAR taking a little bit of extra time. This isn't unusual. We've seen NASCAR do this in the past. This is something when they have weather in the area, when they have an issue like this, sometimes they'll go ahead and drop the green flag even though it's under caution. This is nothing new.
Marty.
And Rick, Jeff Gordon said, I'm not going to give my thumbs up that the track is ready until they take care of that issue off of 2. What we saw a moment ago, that water in essence puddling right by the curb that you guys talked about. Joey Meyer told
it was lap 9, and Martin Truex Jr. waited no time to try to take the lead away from Joey Logano.
Coming out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Martinsville. The preferred line right along the curve.
Right there trying to work his way to the bottom. He knows that he does not find a line or a way to get to the bottom. This line on the bottom will move him way to the back. So he's fighting the 24 hard to try to get to the bottom of the racetrack.
NASCAR has told the teams that competition caution that was scheduled for around lap 45 has now been moved to around lap 50.
Martin Truex Jr. didn't waste any time. He got a good run in the middle of 1 and 2, carried that run down into turn 3 and got by the 22 car.
On lap 36, Joey Logano retook the lead from Martin Truex Jr., hoping to hold on going into the competition caution, but he would not hold it long, as just a few laps later, the 24 of Jeff Gordon, an 8-time winner at Martinsville, would end up taking the lead away from Joey Logano.
Dave?
The reason Kevin Harvick has been able to pick up position since the start, wait, Rick, there's the lead again.
It comes to Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, familiar with running out front at Martinsville, is doing it once again. Gordon leading at Martinsville. He's won here 8 times before. We knew that this may be his best opportunity if he wants to advance to the championship round in Homestead. He may have to win at Martinsville.
Now, after that pit stop, Kurt Busch's crew got him up 2 spots to 3rd. And, well, a few laps into this run, Joey Logano would re-lose the lead to Kurt Busch.
Starting to see a little bit of the tire debris, we call it the marbles, on the outside of the groove as the bumper put to the back of the 22 of Joey Logano. Kurt Busch, aggressive early in this run. To the inside, and Kurt Busch will lead at Martinsville. Every point counts. Now, Kurt Busch adds his name to the list of drivers, chase drivers that have been up front at Martinsville. Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch have all led a lap today.
Now, what's so important about Rick Allen talking about the lap sled? Well, if you lead a lap in the point system that existed at the time, you get a bonus point. So leading lap equals bonus point. And if you lead the most laps, that's another bonus point. And in the playoff system, this specific system, every single point matters. So if you lead a lap, you get a point. And when every point matters, you want that point and you want to lead the most laps to get another point. So up here at the left under the leaderboard, you can see the point standings. And you can follow that along as we go through the race through the broadcast. But yeah, that's why it is so important and why Rick Allen talked about it. The race full of lead changes continued as Logano took back the lead from Kurt Busch on lap 83. Under the previous caution during pit stops, there were two things that happened. Number one, Martin Truex Jr. had a slow stop, so he went from the front of the field back to 17th. And Austin Dillon and Paul Menard, they stayed out on old tires, which put Logano in third. Logano eventually took the lead as his fresher tires overtook the not fresh tires. I don't know how else to say it, but they did that, and there was some problems with chasers. Now, we talked about points earlier and how you needed every point you could get. If you couldn't win, you're going to point your way in, and only one person can point their way in at max. So, very important points, and here's what happens.
Off the brakes, look at the 4.
And around goes the 18 of Kyle Busch. The 3 as well with Austin Dillon. The caution will come out.
Well, when we saw the 3 stay out on old tires, that was the one caveat to it, is he had to not only fight and hold his position.
Yeah, we got toe damage and right front damage and sorry for the water on the apron there.
Kyle mentioning the damage to his car. So he'll be bringing the 18 to the attention of his crew. And look at the damage on chaser Carl Edwards, number 19.
That's pretty severe damage. You have to be concerned if the radiator has a leak, the cooling system. There's a heavy damage to the front of this 19 car.
As they checked up in front of him, Carl Edwards running 16th. Got into the back of A.J. Allmendinger.
Yeah, it's hard to see what you see right here, the 18. He just gets loose and comes up the track chasing it. He doesn't mean to get into the 3. He's sliding up the racetrack out of control, and the chain reaction got called.
Didn't we hear him say something about water on the
apron? Does
he think that water causes issue?
The 22 team, Dave, also very confident with their race car, and as Steve and Jeff just alluded to, discipline and patience has been preached to Logano throughout the course of this race. Even before it began, they said, hey, look, run our race for the first 400 laps, but go hard in the last 100. May have been why you just saw him let Harvick go by, Marty.
A few races ago, Matt Kenseth was leading at Kansas. Had a great opportunity to advance into the 3rd round. Joey Logano put a bumper to him, got him turned around, and Kenseth wasn't happy about it. Now, Kenseth on the back bumper of Joey Logano. Mike.
You know, it was the elephant in the room when I had a discussion with Joey Logano's crew chief this morning about racing the 20. We talked about it. He said, look, we told Joey, just be smart. I had a little conversation with Joey right before he got in the race car about the situation, too, and he said, look, we're going to have to race him. We know that, but there's nothing we can do. It's out of our control. So this team, the 22 team, very much anticipating perhaps maybe some physicality during this race for the 20, Rick.
Mike, you mean that first opportunity he had to get to his bumper and he put it to him? Because that's exactly what happened.
Now, for those of you wanting some context on that, a couple weeks prior, Logano, who was already advanced into the next round and Kenseth not, went for the lead with 10 to go at Kansas or so, dumped Kenseth, and that ended Kenseth's day. He ended up finishing 15th and being eliminated the next week at Talladega. So obviously Kenseth being very upset that he could have won that race and was dumped when Logano had already advanced. So he was upset about it. He showed his frustration here. And now I'm going to show you the spin that happened a couple weeks prior at Kansas.
Here comes the 22. He's closed the gap all over the back bumper now as they've caught the slower traffic. And around goes the 20, sideways in front of the 22. Kansas slides. Caution comes out. The 22 was all over the back bumper of the 20 as they entered turn 1.
I got plans when I come the first time. Joey spun me out, lifted my tires off the ground.
We mentioned the lap traffic. You see right here, Matt Kenseth gets tight. He knows the 20's coming, so he tries to block. He goes to the apron. He knows the 22's coming up. He comes up to block him. A big block onto the 22, and the 22 drives in, catches him in the left rear quarter panel, spins the 20 out. Matt Kenseth with a great save to stay off the wall, but the damage to the points and the ultimate win has been done.
Now, Joey Logano won the race off of pit road. You may be saying,
But you said that the inside's more important, and Rick Allen said that the inside's more important. Steve Letarte said that
the inside line is more important here, but Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski are teammates. And they're going to try to help each other as much as they can during this race. And it's like lap 287, so there's no need to be aggressive, super aggressive, and wreck each other. So, team decision that the leader would be on the outside, and the guy on the inside would let him clear him to stay on the inside, and he would basically hold back everyone else that's on the inside so that he can't get past. So, weird strategy, but it works. It gets Logano to the lead. They keep on doing this, and stuff happens later. It involves wrecking, but yeah.
Closing in on the final 100 laps of this one from Martinsville. Look back, it took Joey Logano 82 laps to get back out in front after winning the pole early.
Saw Denny Hamlin getting this wreck after a speeding penalty. Had to go all the way to the back of the pack, taking this entire race. He's all the way back up to third now, though.
Yeah, then we saw two chasers. You can see the 18 of Kyle Busch get loose in the water, get up and get into the 3, and then the chain reaction, the 19 of Carl Edwards. A lot of damage to the front nose and the hood.
And Brad Keselowski took the lead after Joey Logano let him by. Brad was the faster of the cars as they were closing in on lap 300.
With 90 to go, Joey Logano retook the lead from his teammate.
Right in the middle of the corner. Feels like his brakes aren't working quite as good as they were earlier. You see him point Logano to the inside, Logano to the lead. Brad now going to try and sneak in second, but Harvick's going to close that hole.
Now here's where it gets interesting. We got some full-out retaliation.
A tough situation for Danica Patrick as she comes down, and the 38 stops right in front of her.
Yeah, Danica.
And now they're not going to stop. It's not over.
Danica's upset at Gilliland from early in the race. Remember, the two got together, and Danica tried to pay her back, and pay him back, rather. And
probably go to the garage, I'd say.
She got the worst of it.
A lot of damage now to the 10. And is it over? Down on that inside line, and how quickly he can do it.
And the leader is gone, green. Straddling 2, now just Kurt, still there.
Oh, around goes the 20.
Keep coming, shove through it.
Kenseth around, out in front of the field. The 41 has damage.
Now here's what it meant for Logano. Logano now has a pretty good points gap because Keselowski's teammate and Kurt Busch were both in the playoffs and they just wrecked out. Obviously a win gets Logano into the championship, but as you know by the title of this video, and obviously if you're a NASCAR fan, you know what happens later, but you know that he's got a pretty good size point gap because these two guys are basically must-wins now because of how far back they are. And Carl Edwards had issues earlier. As you see up top, he's got a lucky dog, Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch had rallied back. So the guys that had led laps and gotten that bonus point, Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch, that all it's still there, obviously, but it hurts them because, well, they wrecked, and so they drop all the way back. Kenseth as well wrecks. He has to go to the garage and get some repairs, and he comes back out. And the next time we see him out, you guys know what happens next.
And Kenseth cleared by Logano. Maybe no. Kenseth takes him out. Logano into the wall. Caution comes out and the crowd roars.
What's going on down here?
Talked about it after what we saw a couple weeks ago. I was the first to say I never expected that to happen out of the 20 car.
Helmets coming off of the crew members of the 20. Joey Logano stuck in the grass. If the 20 of Matt Kenseth can continue, NASCAR has said he will be parked.
Now, obviously, this infuriated Logano. He had the most dominant car of the race, and, well, he was leading, and he got intentionally wrecked by his rival, a guy that he had dumped 2 weeks ago on accident battling for the race lead. He was furious. Now, what this did in the long run was not good. After leading 207 laps of this race, he ended up finishing in 37th place and only getting 9 points to show for it. So overall, it ends up being a disastrous day from Logano. He goes from being the race favorite and championship favorite to being in a point situation where he would be 38 points behind the points leader, and he would be 28 points behind the cutoff spot. So a tragic day for Logano after what was looking like a promising points day, maybe even a spot to Miami. Logano was mad. He was furious. And, well, here's some replays of the incident. And after these replays of the incident, I'll give you the interview and recap what happens the rest of the season.
Joey, are you surprised?
Well, yeah, I thought, I think what happened in Kansas is a completely different deal. We were racing for the win, and, he blocked you a few times, and then, we raced hard, and he blocked me last time, and we spun out. That's what happened there. Here is just a complete coward move, especially for a championship race car driver and race team. Just complete coward. I don't have anything else to say. It's a chicken, you-know-what move to completely take out the leader when your race is over, and we'll move on. We're going to work hard, and we're going to get our car back out there, hopefully, and we just got to win.
Joey, between then and now, had you made any attempt at all to try to resolve the situation with Matt?
They won't let me get to him.
10-4.
Matt Kenseth said that he had a tire go down, and that he said he had too much damage on the car for it to be run, that they should have parked it in the first place. NASCAR did not agree. They thought it was intentional, so they parked him for the next two races. He appealed. That appeal was slapped in the face, and he was parked for Texas and Phoenix. Meanwhile, at the end of the race, here we go. We're going to watch the end of the race, and then we'll describe what happened to the rest of Joey Logano's season.
Advantage to the 24. White flag in the air. One more time around for Gordon. Jeff Gordon looking for a storybook ending to the 2015 season. Out of 3 and 4, this win's going to punch his ticket to the championship 4. Gordon wins at Martinsville.
Yeah, that's how you fight.
It hurt Logano to watch someone else celebrate what he had done all day, lead and end up winning and locking their ticket into the championship 4. Now, the fans loved it. Everyone was rooting for Gordon in his final season to win the championship, and everyone hated Logano already. So they were booing Logano, and they cheered everyone else that wasn't Logano, especially Jeff Gordon. Obviously, Logano was not thrilled by that. In Texas at the next week, Joey Logano blew a tire 10 laps into the race, which shredded up his car, and there was a lot of damage to the car. He ended up going 50 laps down and having a terrible day. He finished like 30s or something. But he was in a must-win situation going into Phoenix. Phoenix was rain shortened, and he finished third, being eliminated from the NASCAR playoffs. So, disappointing ending of the season. He did not win the championship. He didn't even get to Homestead. That's a very disappointing way to end your season after such a dominating year. He ended up finishing 6th in points after winning 6 races and almost winning that Martinsville race to advance to the championship 4. Now, it's not all bad. 3 years later, Logano would win the same race at Martinsville, as he would edge out Martin Truex Jr. by making a last lap move, and he would end up winning the championship that year. but he could have won it 3 years earlier. This is obviously disappointing for Logano, but it obviously leads to a lot of questions. If Joey Logano did not get intentionally wrecked by Matt Kenseth, would he not have left Martinsville heartbroken? Would he have been happy? Would he have won the championship that year? That's a question we'll be asking for a while.